Okay, so today I have to tell you about a book well, it's less of a story and more of an atmosphere, a feeling that you just kind of live in for a little while. It is so beautiful and so heartbreaking, and it's one of those that has just stuck with me for years. We're going to dive into Yasunari Kawabata's masterpiece, Snow Country. So let me just start by asking you this. Have you ever had that feeling, a connection with someone that's so intense, so real, but in the back of your mind, you just know it's not going anywhere? You know it's temporary and it's probably going to end badly, but it's just too beautiful to walk away from. Well, this book is that feeling. It's like Kawabata somehow managed to bottle that exact bittersweet, impossible ache and turn it into a novel. It's not about big, dramatic plot twists. It's all about the quiet moments, the things left unsaid, and the beautiful tragedy of a connection that just can't survive in the real world. And a huge part of that feeling comes from the place itself. The setting in this novel is so much more than just a backdrop. It's practically a main character. It's what creates this profound sense of isolation and longing that's at the very heart of the story. And listen, we're not talking about a picturesque winter wonderland here. The book's introduction literally calls it probably the snowiest region in the world. Just think about that for a second. A place so extreme, forged by winds whipping across from Siberia that it feels like you've landed on another planet. I mean, can you imagine living in a town buried under 15 feet of snow, where you spend these long gray winters walking through tunnels carved underneath it all? The book calls it a life divorced from time. It's the perfect, almost dreamlike prison for a love affair that feels totally cut off from reality. Okay, so let's meet the messy, complicated humans at the center of this beautiful, frozen world. Because at its core, this is a story about a love triangle where nobody is really getting what they need, but they just can't seem to let go. First up, we've got Shimimura. He's this wealthy guy from Tokyo, married with kids, who comes to the snow country to, what? Feel something, I guess? He's a self-proclaimed expert on Western ballet, but get this, he's never actually seen a ballet in person. And that tells you everything you need to know about him. He's all about the idea of things, not the messy reality. And then there's Kamako. She's a geisha in this tiny hot spring town, and she is just pure, raw emotion. She is all passion, all heart, and it's all completely wasted. She pours every ounce of her being into this love for Shimamura, and it's so genuine, but it's just so tragically misplaced. And finally, floating around the edges of their affair is Yoko. We meet her on the train right at the beginning, and her presence just haunts the entire story. She's this incredibly intense, almost ethereal quality to her that casts this strange shadow over everything happening between Shimamura and Komako. And this, right here, is the tragedy in a nutshell. I mean, the introduction just nails it. You have a man who is quite incapable of love, paired with a woman who is literally decaying before our eyes because she's giving everything to him. It's the very definition of a beautiful, doomed affair. All right, we absolutely have to talk about how this story is told. Because the real magic of Snow Country isn't the plot, it's the writing. It's this incredibly sparse, poetic style where every single word just carries so much weight. They call it the haiku manner. The story isn't told in a straight line. Instead, it's like a collection of these brief, vivid flashes. A woman's face reflected in a train window, the distant sound of a bell. The real story, the real emotion, happens in the silences between these moments. It's what they don't say that just rips your heart out. This is the very first line of the book, and it's one of the most famous opening lines in all of Japanese literature. It's so simple, but it does so much. It's not just a physical journey. It's like you, the reader, are emerging into this whole other world, one that's isolated, quiet, and dreamlike. And then there's this line. Oh my God, this line just destroys me every time. Kamako is talking about all the diaries she keeps and the books she reads and catalogs, and Shimamara basically asks her what the point is. And this is her answer. The fact that she says it brightly. It's this heartbreaking awareness of her own beautiful, wasted life. Wasted effort. That phrase just echoes through the whole book. It's her love, it's her passion, it's her entire existence in this town. And what's so devastating is that she knows it, but she just keeps on loving anyway. And that's what makes her so incredible. So, this book was written decades ago, set in pre war Japan. Why on earth does it still feel so painfully relevant? I really think it's because it taps into this very specific, very modern kind of loneliness. And it's a really interesting question to ask, right? In a world where we have social media and we're supposedly more connected than ever before, why does a story about two deeply isolated people hit so close to home? Why do we still feel so profoundly misunderstood sometimes? When you really look at it, the themes are just universal. First, you've got this whole fantasy versus reality thing. Shimamura loves the idea of Komoko, but runs from the real, messy person. Sound familiar? I mean, how often do we do that online? Then there's this desperate search for real connection. They're physically together, but emotionally they are miles apart. And finally, that pain of wasted beauty, pouring your heart and soul into someone who just can't or won't accept it. That feeling is absolutely timeless. And I think this quote from the introduction just sums it all up perfectly. The story is a symbol for a denial of love. But in writing about that denial so beautifully, the book itself becomes an affirmation of the humanity that is being denied. The love might be impossible, but the feeling, the humanity, is real. It's such a beautiful paradox. You know, Snow Country is a really short book, but it leaves such a long shadow. It's one of those quiet novels that just gets under your skin and makes you feel things you can't quite put into words, long after you've turned the last page.
So, I would really love to know what you think. If you've already read it, what's the one image or feeling that has stuck with you all this time? And if you haven't, I really hope I've convinced you to maybe give it a try. Let me know all your thoughts in the comments below.